Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now.
Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo, and this is your Geek Out for today. I did a presentation this week at the University of Pittsburgh in front of a group of people who weren't as geeky as a lot of my community happened to be, and the advice that I gave them seemed to work well for their need of a presenter like myself. And since I get paid to do speaking engagements, I usually put bits and pieces of them in the daily Pirillo vlogs. Unfortunately, I completely forgot to pick up the video recorder that time, and none of the presentation was saved. That being said, I still do have the presentation, and I'd asked the people who were watching that particular vlog if they wanted me to do the presentation separately on a video for YouTube, and many people said, yeah, they really wanted to see it. Now, that being said, most of my community, the people who subscribed to the YouTube channel, a lot of the information that I'm going to present may not be new to you. However, this presentation is really designed to address those who are looking to integrate technology with their business in such a way that it's not as frightening. Because you've got to understand that for geeks, people like me, we just get this stuff. We understand how this works and how to make it fit into whatever we're trying to make it fit into. But a lot of people out there, specifically entrepreneurs and business owners, they don't necessarily have technology top of mind when it comes to solving their problems. So I was invited to present on the human factor, or using technology to connect with customers, to connect with community, to connect with evangelists, things that many of us seem to take for granted, but many more of us don't quite understand. So I just wanted to say thank you for asking me to do this in a YouTube video, and if this presentation isn't for you, well, that's okay. There's a lot of other videos out there on YouTube that you can watch. I do have to mention that this is being brought to you by GoToMeeting with HD Faces, the powerfully simple way to meet online from anywhere. With GoToMeeting, you can share the same screen, making it easier to be on the same page, all while seeing each other in HD video. You can easily launch or join a meeting using your computer, phone, or tablet, even present from your iPad, which is the device I have right here. I use GoToMeeting all the time. In fact, we could have used it remotely to bring people in to the presentation, which I did, again, earlier this week, without them having to leave the comfort of wherever they happen to be, other than at the place where I happen to be. That's the value of using something like GoToMeeting. Plus, you can record your GoToMeeting presentations as well. So I use it all the time in my business. You can try GoToMeeting if you want, free for 30 days. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click the Try It Free button, and use the promo code Pirillo. That's my last name, Pirillo. I am in the comfort of my own home office right here on a Friday evening, and honestly, this is what I want to be doing right now, sharing my knowledge with you. I'm generally not a fan of PowerPoint, so this presentation was not built in PowerPoint. It was actually built in a utility, a free utility built in the Seattle area called Haiku Deck. It's free. Haiku Deck. Go ahead and download a copy. You can, because it doesn't cost you anything. It's the value of doing it, and you're going to understand why I happen to like it as we kind of roll forward. The beauty of using this as presentation software is I'm not a big fan of giving people PowerPoints and bullet points that they're looking at the slides and they're not paying attention to the things that I'm saying. So what Haiku Deck allows me to do is to tell a story, connecting, in this case, with the humans who are out there. One thing that is very difficult, I think, for people to grasp, and this holds true for everybody out there. When we are interacting with screens, you're watching me on one of your screens right now, sometimes, and for some people, that empathy disappears. They're talking to the screen, whatever screen it happens to be, not talking to the person who's on the other side of the screen. And that's unfortunate. This is where a lot of trollish behavior comes from, when people do not realize that the things that they put out there on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and beyond, they're putting in front of other human beings. And they would never say some of the things that they say if they were faced with another person in real life. So why is it different when they're online? Why do they treat humans as subhuman, it could be that this part of their brain shuts down. You're not just interacting with a screen with a computer anymore. You're interacting with someone on the other side of the screen, even though physically they're not on the other side of the screen. But I think you guys understand what I'm saying. So I wanted to put that out there, if only because this is something that I think everybody struggles with, especially in relation to the internet and social media. We are connecting with one another. The internet is a series of connections between people. And yes, machines and the connections between machines are just as important. But this is something to always keep in mind. You're communicating with other people, or potentially communicating with other people. People ask how I do the videos that I do, and I explain that I treat this camera, the lens that I'm looking at right now in my hand gestures, being Italian, I've got to talk with my hands. That's why I'm trying to keep this presentation completely out of the way. I don't want to knock it over. Hopefully I don't. I treat the lens, you, as though I'm talking to you. So even though hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people may see this video, ultimately, it's you I want to connect to and connect with at a substantially deeper level than me just talking to the camera, because I realize this camera lens is my only connection to you. And technology, as it evolves, is becoming increasingly pervasive and increasingly social. In fact, to this group of fellow business owners and entrepreneurs, some of the questions that came in, which we will cover in some of these initial slides, had to do with trying to either understand the value of social and technology, or to better put a finer point on the value of social in the grander scheme of things. Just about every device out there these days seems to have some kind of social conduit to it. Whether it's a camera like this or a camera like this, it's about sharing stories. And that is the best thing you could do when it comes to your business or your presence online, is sharing your story. Some people entertain, some people put information out there. It's ultimately putting it out there. And forget about the people who don't care who you are. You're just wasting your breath. Think about the people who really do care about who you are and being able to use technology to better present your story. This is one of the reasons why, and it's kind of like an Ouroboros, a snake eating its own tail here. One of the reasons why I like using Haiku Deck, and I'm saying that on my own volition, that is not a paid pitch, not a sponsor. It's just a great piece of software that enables me to take my story and present it to an audience in person or by way of video. So, set the stage. I want to move forward. You see that? I'm going to do something I didn't do in the presentation because I didn't have a chance. Look at that. That effect, by the way, where you have different layers of images changing at the same time, or moving at a seemingly a different level, that's called parallax, and Haiku Deck enables that. You give it a bit of text, it searches the web for Creative Commons licensed images and pulls them in. So it's completely legal. I didn't steal any of these images you see in these slides. Completely on the up and up. In fact, I uploaded the presentation to their website so you can get or see full attribution. Creative Commons, by the way, if you're not familiar with the construct. If I put a video out there, a photo out there, text out there, any kind of media out there, and I want people to understand that they could use it, but use it in a certain way that unfortunately copyright is a bit too restrictive for, a Creative Commons licensed work would allow me to say, here's how you can use it, here's how I don't want you to use it. So when I say Creative Commons licensed images, I'm saying that each image in this presentation I'm able to use. I didn't just download it from the web to put it in a presentation. I have full attribution in the presentation that I've shared on the web. So when I asked a series of questions to the people who were going to attend this presentation, again, a lot of neophytes, people who don't quite see technology the way that I see technology. That's why I was a value to present to them, which, by the way, I'm very happy to say the results that came in from my presentation, I think, 99% of people who experienced it in person got a great degree of value from what I shared with them. Only one person in the survey said that they strongly disagreed that it had any value whatsoever. So I don't know how to reach them. Maybe it was the tone of my voice. Maybe it was the time of day. Admittedly, it was 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning on the East Coast. And that would mean I live on the West Coast in Seattle, if you didn't know. 3 hours behind anyway, so it was like the middle of the night for me, so I was doing my best. One question that came in, or a concern I should say, was that tech trends turn very quickly. And this is something that, I hear this frustration over and over and over again, even from geeks, people who are afraid to jump in and just get what they can have today. There's always a concern that it's going to happen too quickly, and then you're going to find yourself behind the curve. And you know what? That's a legitimate concern. Every 6 months, I swear, and maybe even it happens at a more frequent basis than that, the industry changes. How we view technology changes. How we have to incorporate technology does change. But burying your head in the sand could be one of the worst things that you could possibly do as a business owner. Even if you don't like technology, it's still going to be there. We understand that it's going to change quickly. And this is just the nature of the beast. Faster computers get released. New services are released. The idea that you could try something and then 6 months later it's already outmoded or outdated is a possibility. But eschewing that, putting it to the side and ignoring it is worse than adopting something, making a decision, and incorporating what's there for you to use. So you've got to learn to free yourself from these mental shackles. When people ask, how do I start? I don't know where to begin. There's just so many options out there. I always suggest start with what you know. Start with what you have in your hand right now. When I asked the audience, what kind of technology they had on them, it seemed that for this audience of entrepreneurs and business owners, that a majority of them had an iOS device, an iPhone, an iPad, iPod Touch. There were also a healthy amount of Android devices out there, a couple of Windows Phone devices. Doesn't matter. You have selected the technology that works for you. Start there. It's so easy, and I'm not even kidding when I say this, so easy to install new software on these computers, these pocket computers, iOS devices, an iPad. Let's just take that. That's what I've got right here. Keep in mind, I also have Nexus devices. Sorry about that. Nexus devices. Those are Android tablets on the other side of my home office. Doesn't matter. Point, tap, install. There was a time when you had to go to a store, buy physical software, figure out how to install it, and pray to the gods that you did not bork your computer. This is not the way of the future. If you have not installed more than the default apps on your smartphone at this point, or a tablet computer at this point, you're missing out. Each one of those apps will transform your experience. More importantly for entrepreneurs, because if there's one thing that we have in common, it's that we share this common thread of loving to put together puzzles. We see a problem and figure out the solution. That's what entrepreneurs do. And the beautiful thing about software for these types of computers is that we can tap and install and change the experience. For example, I'm going to reach back here to my phone. I'm going to unlock it and show you an example of a free application called Paper Karma. What this app does, once installed, again for free, it allows you to scan your junk mail. No one likes junk mail unless you're the odd person out. scans your junk mail, and then it will automatically submit your address, name, all your information to whatever service delivered that junk mail to you to have your name removed from the list. I'm not talking about junk email. I'm talking about physical junk mail. This app, free, turned this pocket computer that I have in my hands, and that I would carry around in my pockets on the average day, turned it into a value. Where now I don't have to chase or call anybody to get removed from a mailing list. I just tap and it's done. Now I actually look forward to receiving junk mail so I can remove myself from the list. Let's see here. I've had 62 successful requests come in. I mean, what more could you ask for? That app, developed by someone who just had the idea of creating this app, this experience for millions, if not at some point billions of people from all around the world, it made life easier. And it didn't take anything to install. Not just took no money because it was free, but it was tap, simple. Software is evolved. It's not just something that you have to be frightened of. Start here, whatever your smartphone happens to be. And just for argument's sake, I want to show everybody. Reach over here and show you, yes, I absolutely have Android devices in hand. I also have, as I reach over this way, Blackberries. See, look, there's the logo on the back. And, I should have pulled these earlier. Windows phones. So it doesn't matter which pocket computer you choose to use. It's that you're using one in general and knowing that these tech trends may evolve, but they're evolving at a point where if you have this device, you're going to be able to more easily move along with those trends, as opposed to an outmoded idea of having to go to a desktop computer or even a laptop and worry about screwing up your entire system because you installed something that was coded poorly. And that's a possibility. It absolutely is. But these are today's computers. These are tomorrow's computers. Keep that in mind. The challenge, and I quote, is getting customers to adapt. I think customers are more ready than you give them credit for. I would go as far as to say that for the most part, your customers are probably already carrying these pocket computers around with them. Smartphones, the common term as we would call these. Have you asked? Have you recognized? Have you noticed what they're using? If not, why not ask? That's the worst question, by the way, is the one unasked. When I polled my audience, my core community, and asked them, after publishing for years, I've been doing, video certainly since before YouTube existed, but I've been publishing information online prolifically since at least 92, started a business with publishing information and my knowledge in 1996. I asked them just recently in the past 6 months, what do you want from me? And I put it out there everywhere. I said, if you can respond to this, great. I am looking for your feedback. I didn't care how someone responded. These people who responded to this survey, that's my core audience. These are the people I wanted to address the most and wanted to give them what they wanted most from me. And I asked, and the response was telling, very telling. In fact, I realized that after asking my community what they wanted, I was off the mark. I couldn't believe it. Most of the respondents suggested that they wanted more hardware. So what I did was I went out and I got a hold of more hardware to be able to give them more of what they wanted. But it was only because I took the time to ask them. And the thing is, it's easy to send out a survey. It doesn't even have to cost you anything. I used Google Docs free for anybody to use. You can set up a form, send it out there, and it'll give you the responses in a spreadsheet format. You know, a file that you could then download to your computer if you wanted to use Excel. If you still live and die by Excel, that's fine. Although Google Docs does have a spreadsheet application you could use for free. Nothing to install either. So when I asked them, they told me what they wanted from me, instead of me guessing or doing what I thought they wanted. You might do the same thing. You might learn something from your consumers. Find out. If most of your customers are using, let's say, an Android device, well, wouldn't you want to keep that in mind in terms of how you address them? Forget about a website. Websites work. Don't get me wrong. I have several of them, probably too many at this point. Websites are great, especially for businesses when they act as brochures or gateways through which people can get things from you as a business. What I learned years ago when it came to YouTube was that there were more people who didn't know about me than there were people who did know about me. And that's one of the reasons why I latched on to YouTube back in 2006, because I realized that I could connect with more people that way, because the chances of someone knowing Chris Pirillo and searching for me and finding me were infinitesimally smaller than them coming to this global connection point, this resource, searching for information that I have to provide and discovering me that way. So the trend has been to go to these networks, social media tools, resources, whatever you want to call them, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. People are out there and they're looking to connect with you. So the question is what are you doing to connecting with them? To connect with them. So it's not so much a challenge to get customers to adapt. It's more of a challenge of you figuring out what your customers already have and what they might want. And the only way to discover that, other than spending, God knows how much money on research, is to ask them. Asking them costs you nothing. And that information, that knowledge that you get, what are you going to do with it? That's on you. The onus is on you. What you're going to do with what they're telling you they're already using today. It's not as difficult as it used to be. Technology is getting easier and easier to adopt and can transform your business without costing you an arm and a leg or a lion's share of your budget. Sorry, I was thinking two different things at the same time, and unfortunately, my mouth couldn't keep up. We have a concern, someone had noted, that stems from uncertainty. When anybody asks me how to get started, let's say for argument's sake, with YouTube, or a blog, or business, I tell them something very, very simple, and I think Nike nailed it with their campaign years ago. Just do it. Just do it. There are better ways that you possibly could do it. Then again, I could look back at the things that I did a week ago and think I could have done better. And then I challenge myself to do better. Being more resourceful, completing the task in a way that would have yielded better results. But being ambivalent, deciding to do nothing based on uncertainty, is a bigger problem in many cases, not every case, than doing something. So when it comes to technology, these can be very costly decisions. The recommendation that I had made for this group of people, if concern around uncertainty was an issue, specifically in relation to decisions they had to make for their business, when you pin your hopes on a product that someone else drives, you could end up with problems. For example, if what you've created is an experience that's predicated on the model that Twitter and its API, or application programming interface, an official way for you to interact with Twitter's data and the data that users are putting out there, if your model is based on someone else's model, you've got a problem. Don't go that route. You can make that a part of your model, but don't make that the crux of your business. And the reason why is because if they change something, what's going to happen to you? You want to talk about uncertainty and concern. You should be. So don't lock yourself in to proprietary or private technologies. It's my number one recommendation if you have a concern about which technology to decide, or to decide upon. Sorry. Open. It's not everything. Open source. Not everything. But in terms of your business and your strategy, you're better off deciding upon an open or an open source model of technology that has been proven in the marketplace. For example, you want to launch a website, what are you going to do? Well, are you going to code your own, or are you going to go with an open source CMS or CMS-like system? CMS, by the way, content management system, like WordPress. WordPress is far from perfect, and believe you me, I have spent more money on open source technologies than I have on proprietary technologies. But the value of going an open source route is if, let's say, a team that I'm working with, a developer I'm working with, decides to leave, if it's, and his or her work is based on an open source platform, the next person or team who comes in is going to have an inherent understanding of what that platform was and be able to use it. They're going to have a completely different idea and a completely different skill set in and around that platform. But the cost to retrain them is going to be substantially lower because they already have that understanding of what that platform is, because it wasn't proprietary. It wasn't locked in on somebody else's model. And so if this is your biggest issue, my number one recommendation is think about open technologies, open source, and going that direction. Even if you have intellectual property or IP that's tied into your business, if you want to deal with technology, I would strongly recommend going down the open path for the reasons I've already explained. Here's another thing that came in, a question, or from the question I asked, an answer, a response. The tremendous value of social. How do we explain it? ROI gets thrown about every time I talk about this stuff. And I tell you, it's much more powerful when someone else shares something that I've done, something that I'm selling, something that I've created, than it is for me to do that on my own. To be able to empower those evangelists, unpaid evangelists, to spread that message far and wide. To me, there's a greater value in social than there is in completely ignoring it. It may seem like a waste of time, a waste of money, a waste of resources. And if that's what you're asserting, then I might come back to you and suggest, well, maybe you're doing it wrong. Maybe you're just not familiar with tools and resources that can help you better manage social and engagement. There are a few that I can think of off the top of my head that could help you ascertain the value of social and present it in such a way that makes sense to people who, like you and me, who understand that it's important but want it presented in a way that is clean and efficient. Simplymeasured.com is a resource you can sign up for. There's also Get Little Bird to help you identify influencers who are potentially talking about you or writing about you. In fact, there is a starting point for everybody in social, and that's in knowing who your influencers are. And that starts usually by search. That's where you begin. Even if you don't want to use Twitter or Facebook or YouTube or any one of these social connection nexus point network things, search. When I was traveling recently, I was looking for a place where I could get something good to eat. And instead of going to Google to ask, where's a good place to eat here? I went to my network of people who are following me on any one of these social platforms. And I asked them. And based on some of their responses, that's what I decided to do. Google couldn't give me that information. I crowdsourced the question. In fact, if you watch the trends, more and more people are going to social networks to ask questions that previously they would have gone to a search engine to ask to get their answers. This is one of the reasons why Google created a social layer, as they call it, on top of their search service called Google Plus. They wanted a organic layer of connection so that they could get more data from the people who were asking. I ask questions all the time on Facebook, Google Plus, and Twitter. I don't care where the responses come from. If they're qualified, if they're people who know me or know enough about me to give me responses. So you sell the value of social to your employer, your shareholders, by suggesting that this is actually the future of search, social. And if you need a prime indicator, look at what Google is doing with Google+. The only reason why is because they didn't want to lock in their business model on someone else's business model, Twitter or Facebook. Google doesn't control either one of them. So if they wanted to create value for their users, they needed to get more data from the users. This is the reason why Google rolled out Google Plus and did it in the way that they decided to do it, for better or for worse. Not exactly organic or as organic as Facebook was or Twitter was, but still, they understood that it was tied into search. Search and social, bam, just like this. Think about that. Would you rather ask a search engine or a friend a question? And there are times to ask a search engine, certainly. But when that information is returned, how do you know you can trust that information to be valid or as valid as it could be? Social and search, those lines, if I can interweave my fingers properly here, are increasingly blurring. If you're looking to identify the value of social, look no further than identifying the value of search. Because there are a lot of sites and resources out there. And when you search for something online, your results are probably going to be different from my results. The personalization of search is increasing every year. So you may think that you need to be at the top of the search engines, which is great. No argument there. If you want absolute traffic, you're probably going to have to buy it. You're going to have to spend money on advertising. Otherwise, you're at the whims of any one of these networks. So you're better off at that point growing organic engagement with your community, with your supporters, with your potential customers. That's one thing they can't take away from you, this mysterious, unwieldy they out there. When you have an organic connection with someone who appreciates something that you're doing. It's one of the reasons why, as my business has evolved, I have really, I would say, gone overboard to make connections with people who appreciated the things that I was saying. And the way I'm presenting to you now is exactly how I'd be presenting to an audience of real people. People in real life. You are real people out there, don't get me wrong. I'd be just as animated, even at my 4 a.m, which it's not right now, thank goodness. It's still evening time here in Seattle. It's knowing that organic bond that we have is going to transcend any possible shift that's going to happen. People will find me. They'll find me no matter how they want to find me. If I go to where they are, they're happy to find me. And when they share the things that I'm creating for them, that does me even more of a favor, because they're going to their personal connections and saying, look at what I appreciate. I'm just giving them the tools to do it. No one's going to share a website. I mean, it might happen. They're going to share a story. They're going to share content. They're going to share knowledge. And you can tap into all of that without having to stress yourself out of even doing it in the first place. There is an ROI. It's going to be different for everybody out there. That's a return on investment. And if you are in a situation where you can't afford to pay someone for a deeper social engagement or connection with community, find your evangelists. Empower your evangelists. I do that every day. I love when someone creates something that has to do with one of my passions or interests, or they take something that I've done and they remix it in such a way that it's just really creative. I want to empower that because I want to give them ownership of my brand. And that's one thing to consider in all of this. And that is specifically when it comes to what you have as a brand, you're no longer controlling it. And that's unfortunate, but that is an absolute truth. You can guide your brand as it moves on, but unfortunately, you can't control it like you used to be able to do if you ever bothered to control your brand. Right now, I'm looking at another iPad I have. Yes, this is an iPad mini as opposed to the iPad. They don't really call it anything else other than an iPad. Wanted to pull up my notes to make sure I covered everything here. I'm using Google Drive, which is a free application, by the way, if you've never used it before. And the value of using Google Drive is that you can find yourself being able to access documents remotely. I've mentioned it twice now, also known as Google Docs, so I apologize if that wasn't clear. Again, Google's not saying that I can talk about it. I'm just talking about it. I'm becoming an evangelist for Google Drive because I can access it from a variety of devices, including my pocket computer, which I'm going to pull up right now. Let's move on. That's what I'm talking about. You want to have that connection with people who are out there. Because if you don't, what do you have? You're just putting ads out there and hoping people will pay attention to the things that you're doing. But the more you interact, the more you empower these people, the better off your business is going to be. Going back to where do I start with social? Well, if you're not using search, you're missing out. You already have people out there who are talking about your business. And if you're not, you've got a bigger problem on your hands. You want people talking about you or your business because, again, if you're not, where are you? Where are you? Social isn't just a fad, or any more than communication is a fad, any more than human interaction is a fad. So don't write off any kind of connection you might have with a customer because you never know where that's going to lead. You never know. Interact, participate, empower. When you do this using technology, specifically that social layer of technology, You never know. Do you realize that I would say a good 75%, if not more, of the things that I'm able to do with my business are specifically tied to people who understand and appreciate the things that I do? For example, the reason I was able to do this speaking engagement at the University of Pittsburgh was because I had been working for quite some time in this industry, and the person who made the connection was someone who's known me since the mid-90s. They needed a speaker, a presenter to talk about technology and businesses and the crossover and where social's going and giving them tangible things that they could use. He thought of me because he knew I could do it. But it was only because of how much I put out there that opportunity came about. That was organic. I put it out there. So when he asked, I said, absolutely. By the way, it's Robert, who I've known for quite some time, Bob Stein from ActiveWin. Used to be one of the leading resources back in the day for a lot of information that I wanted to get, and a fantastic one at that. Still continues to this day, but because of the proliferation of social sharing and content, it's not as prevalent as it used to be, but still one of my favorite resources. That being said, because I just love taking in information, and then of course sharing information that I find valuable as well. So without organic engagement, and you can have some, you absolutely can, you're missing out on opportunities. Another concern that came out was specifically challenging, or I should say, finding challenges in the field. And the way that I look at it, like a traditional entrepreneur, I see challenges as opportunities in disguise. These are Lego bricks. I'm an adult fan of Lego. They interlock. So I see each one of these components out there, maybe a bit of technology, a bit of social, a bit of business models, and I can come up with anything, as could anybody. It's never the idea, it's the implementation. And so when you see that other people out there are facing challenges, what can you do differently? There's disruption happening all around. I can't tell you how frustrated I am when a business can't take a credit card. And believe you me, there are businesses out there who do not take credit cards. Or if it's an online service, if I can't connect one of my online accounts to it, it's frustrating. And that's the way that I think, and a lot of consumers think too. If I hand you a credit card, I don't want you to hand it back to me saying you can't take it. I just want you to take it because this is the card I'm giving you for credit. So that's a challenge. What are you going to do to adapt? Well, there are new tools that exist that you can plug in to your pocket computers to take credit cards. Square is one of those. There are other leading traditional financial service type software that are adopting similar type of what you call accessories for smartphones. PayPal has some, Intuit has one where you could turn your pocket computer into a terminal and not even think about, dropping it. And hopefully you might have a case on your phone. This is my third iPhone 5. I've had to take it back because I've had problems with other ones. But Apple, they do pretty well. That didn't cost me anything to get things fixed, so I'm happy about that. Okay, that's a quick aside there. Knowing that you have a challenge, when you ignore that challenge, it's not going to disappear. Worse yet, there's going to be another business, another company out there who's going to see that challenge and have already addressed it. Figure out how you can move around that challenge to the point where it's no longer a challenge, but it's now an advantage. It's going to take some thinking. And how you think about it is going to depend on your openness to looking into how many different applications that are out there that you can install or you can buy into, software as a service. Either one of them is going to give you a different advantage. And that may just be enough to put you over the edge, to keep you that much further ahead from your competition. And if you think you have no competition at this point, You may be right, but that may not last forever. Think about news. Newspapers are dying. I mean, it's writings on the wall or on the printed page. I think they'll still be around for a little while longer. It's just that the way that we choose to get news these days, even you, it might be through one of these devices versus this printed page. They had to change. And at some point, they were fine because they controlled the distribution model in their vicinity. We control it. Ha ha ha. People have to get our news. Ha ha ha. Even all the way to television or radio. These are all being disrupted. And they did not see, any one of them, or even if they did see, the challenges ahead. Or the challenge of the consumer or their customer changing their patterns and behaviors based on any kind of resource that might have been at their disposal. This has happened to their detriment. Very few businesses in the media industry have been able to evolve or adapt to changing models, other than those who have understood that they have a different value in the marketplace. So an example, challenges, opportunities in disguise. I am a fan of Game of Thrones. And just the other day, they released first episode in a new season. I watched it because I paid for the service to be able to watch it. And apparently this happened to be the most pirated content ever on record. HBO came out and said, great, that's awesome. We're honored that people are stealing our content. Now, why would they say that? Because they make their money through subscriptions and television service providers. Well, the thing is they got fans out there. And those fans like buying things. DVDs. So they know their DVD sales are going to be fantastic. They'll get their money. Is it going to happen the same way? No. But do they need to control everything to the point where they're upsetting their core community who don't have the opportunity to get the service? That's thinking forward. What I'm talking about is the audience who doesn't have a traditional television service provider, cable service, satellite service. Currently, the only way at this point, the time of this recording, where you can get the content. You have people out there who would pay to get the content, and they will pay to get the content. The challenge is they can't get the content in a way that works for them. So the way HBO views this challenge is different from how others might consider the challenge. They accept it and see an opportunity to drive more sales. And it works. It absolutely works. The writing's on the wall that every single industry on the planet will and absolutely has been impacted by technology, whether it wanted to be or not. Another media example, Prince, or the artist formerly known as Prince, recently came out and issued a takedown notice to Twitter for some videos that were posted to Vine, which is a video tweeting type of service. You can download it for free, and you take short videos, 6-7 second long videos, upload them to your account, and then people will watch them. Well, apparently some people had some of Prince's music in their Vines, and Prince didn't like that. Said, nope, take it down right now. Do not want. Does Prince not realize that the internet and social is more than just a fad? I can tell you one artist who does understand that, Trent Reznor, 9 Inch Nails. Now, even if you don't happen to appreciate his music, he turns it over. Take the ball and run with it. Another example of an entity or a band, a media, what would you call them? They're a band, but I think they're a fantastic resource for entertainment, at least for me. They might be giants. They've always moved and adapted to the way the internet has allowed people to share content and information, embracing it rather than pushing it away. Instead of seeing the challenge that people were going to download They Might Be Giants songs, They Might Be Giants created an app so that people can press a button and just listen to the songs. Who cares? Just listen to it. They would rather have those fans that they know they can connect with when they go on tour. The challenge is, how do you get past the people who are stealing, who are taking your IP, your intellectual property, and turn them into customers? You embrace their patterns. You go back and you find out, what are they doing? What are they using? How can you turn that challenge into an opportunity? It's possible. And I tell you what, because technology exists and it is so accessible, it's never been easier to be able to turn challenges into opportunities. This is how you feel. Or maybe not all of you. Some of you feel this way. Technology can be a challenge. Absolutely. But you can grow your business with technology. But you may have to think about it in a different way. My dad. I love my dad. I really do. He's not a technology kind of guy like I am. He's a numbers guy, an accountant by trade. For years and years, he would wait for me to come over to his house to install software. Well, we've already covered this, that you can install it on these types of devices. He had a dumb phone for quite some time, and I finally convinced him to go with a smartphone. I didn't care really what that smartphone happened to be. He did. And he was worried that he needed an instruction manual to take classes, and you know what? He didn't. In fact, without any prompting, despite him having the ability to upload and edit videos on his computer, his PC, over a number of years with Windows XP on it, he is now recording, editing, and uploading videos using his iPhone. I didn't show him how to do it. I didn't want to show him how to do it. Oh, had a software crash there. Let's go ahead and relaunch it. Show you Haiku Deck again. It happens. So you just got to roll with the punches. Let's go ahead and flip through the slides again. Hopefully you guys get a nice little refresher. You just got to deal with it. Come on. It's software. What are you going to do? He finally looked past his own fear of technology to accomplish something he wanted to accomplish, knowing that he wanted to share his story. And he found every other process difficult. He wanted it so badly, he figured it out. And he realized, oh, it wasn't so difficult. Sometimes we are our own worst enemy when it comes to embracing, when it comes to trying. Dude, it costs you free, I mean, not for the device, but the software, or even if it costs you $10, that's nothing in the grand scheme of things if it unlocks untold potential for you and or your business. Try apps. Try them. I don't care, again, what platform you choose to use. There are probably better platforms than others. But when you try these different apps and they transform how you even use these devices, if you are someone who thinks like an entrepreneur, a business owner, being crafty and resourceful, you can put two and two together. You can figure out how to make this work, even if you don't know about technology, even if you don't care about technology. The fact that you know this exists and this trend of increasingly pervasive technology is not disappearing or dissipating anytime soon, you know you have to. And it's easy. If my dad can record, edit, upload video from this device, I'm telling you, anybody can. And I'm not talking just about video. I'm talking about just using this for what it is. This is a computer. And for most of your consumers or customers out there, this is their primary computer. In fact, did you know? This is a kind of scary thought, but it may fall in line with how you think. Google has released, and you can access this publicly, data. And the search for computer, that word, that term, has been decreasing year after year to the point where it almost isn't searched for anymore. People aren't looking for computer help. You know why? This. You want to know a trend that you already have? Because if you do not have a smartphone, again, I don't care if you've got an iPhone, a Windows mobile device at this point, an Android device, or a BlackBerry, a newer BlackBerry that is, these platforms, these are the primary computing experiences for people. And that will continue to increase over time. It's not to say that the PC is dead, but our need for the PC is disappearing. You already have your pocket computer, which, by the way, is probably more of a PC than the first PC you ever owned. This certainly is for me. My first computing experience was on a Commodore VIC-20 back in the day, plugged into a black and white television, so I've been around for a little while. How do you grow your business with technology? You embrace it. You try it. You download a new application. What's stopping you? I guarantee it's not the availability of smartphones or applications. It's probably you. You don't have to be afraid. My dad will tell you that. You don't have to be afraid. And he is probably one of the most fearful people. He comes up with scenarios in his head like, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Things that would never possibly happen. What if I install something and something goes wrong? Well, if you choose the right smartphone platform for you, that ain't gonna happen. You have employees all around you. Maybe it's just you, though. You have evangelists all around you. Empower them. Give them the opportunity to take what you have and run with it. When you identify something that people love about you, your product, your service, boost them. So, here's an example. Local business owner creates, it's probably the wrong word, prepares some of the tastiest baba ganoush I've ever had here in the Seattle area. He had talked about how Twitter and Facebook, even Foursquare, which is a location-based service that allows people to check into your local business. It's usually available and accessible by way of smartphone. In fact, Foursquare just recently updated their application the other day to make it easier for people to check into their businesses. I've got to be careful of what I share here because some people have their check-ins private just for friends. He was lamenting that it just wasn't working for him. And I looked around his restaurant, and I love his baba ganoush. And I saw art on the walls, and this art was just not personal at all. I mean, I could tell that it was just picked up at some shop that 1,000 other people have shopped at. And I thought, there's a big trend online for people to take pictures and video of their food. People love that. They eat it up. Okay, not trying to do a play on words there. People love taking pictures of food. Other people love watching or viewing pictures of food. And so I asked him, I'm like, why not do this? If you know people are taking pictures of food, encourage that. And when someone takes a picture of food and they post it to, let's say, their Instagram account, I'm just going to pull up Instagram here. This is my Instagram account. Let's see if I don't really take a lot of pictures of food. Here. Okay, here. Oh, I do, actually. Here. There's a picture of some amazing sashimi that I had the other day. I had to take a picture of it. 706 people happened to like that picture. So I thought, why not tell them they can take a picture on Instagram, tag it a certain way with a hashtag, and a hashtag, a little pound sign or a number sign, and then a word, allows for a dynamic aggregation of content that also uses that hashtag. So I'm not trying to jump around here, but I have to explain it. For example, I took a picture yesterday of a couple of stormtroopers, because I'm a fan of Star Wars, and I used the hashtag in there, Star Wars and Star Wars Toy Crew. And the value of doing that was that, let's see if I can tap on it here. If I use the hashtag Star Wars, if someone taps that, they can see all the other photos that were tagged Star Wars. Okay. I didn't happen to do that when I took the picture of the sashimi, though, so I wanted to jump to explain that for those of you who are not familiar with what a hashtag was. But I said, make up a hashtag. Anybody can. You can create your own. And try to keep it short. So when they use that hashtag, then what you can do is you can find that photo more easily, take it to the printer upstairs, print off the photo from Instagram, and then put it on the wall. So that the next time they come in there, they can say, I took a picture of that food. That was the food I loved. And then another person who comes in there and sees that and, well, wow, that looks good. What is that? Oh, I got to take a picture of my food because I really like mine, and then my picture will be up on the wall. And then pretty soon you've got a wall, not just full of pictures, but pictures that your customers, your biggest evangelists, have taken and shared with their friends. So your restaurant becomes that conversation, or a part of that conversation that's happening anyway. And I asked him, do you know how many people have taken a picture of your food? He couldn't tell me. Of course he couldn't tell me. Put a finer point on it. And then surface it in such a way that the next person who comes in, who's coming in for the first time, can see that and want to participate too. Empowering your evangelists. Empowering your customers. I can give, I swear, any business an idea like that. He didn't pay me for that idea, unfortunately, but I did get my baba ganoush for free. Oh, sorry, getting a phone call here. I gotta decline that so I can continue with this presentation. And not to say that, my advice is worth a free lunch, but it's worth at least that. I get hired very frequently to not just do presentations, but to also give personalized advice or ideas about how to use technology or social with any particular business. All the time. So it's fun for me. I love that creative outlet of figuring out how this works. But it starts with evangelists, or turning your employees into evangelists. If you want research, if you want knowledge that is a key component to understanding this, you can still get it. The Clue Train Manifesto, one of my favorite books of all time. When I had read it, it had basically given me the confidence that the business model I was already pursuing was the right business model. ClueTrain.com. Clue Train Manifesto. Look it up. I think you can get it for free, as a matter of fact. You don't have to spend any money, although the money that you would spend is nothing compared to, how much your business is worth. So many people ask how to start with social. Think about the things that you're sharing. Think about the things that you appreciate. Start there. That's the best place to start. But if you really want to engage, make it visual. Sights and sounds. Now, if this was a blog post, first of all, it would probably sound different. The tone would be different. But the fact that it's a video and then I'm communicating with you directly like this, huge value. Because if a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000,000. You're engaged with sight, with a photo. But not only can you see me, you can hear me. And you get my tone of voice as well. So it leaps off the page or the screen to you. Doing video is not that difficult. And to quote a very famous photographer, the best camera is the one you have on you. You don't need a fancy schmancy camera. You really don't. You could use the camera that's built into your tablet too if you want. And trust me, it works. You could use the camera built into your pocket computer if you want. Whatever. Tell your story. Figure it out. Where do you start? I make the recommendation that if it's a small business wanting to do video, using whatever camera at their disposal, not spending tons of money on production. I mean, you want to make sure the video is good. In fact, if anything, best practice is make sure the audio is good. Because if the audio sucks, people are going to tune out. At a deeper level, the video that you produce, where do you start after you pass those hurdles? Think of the top 25 questions your customers or potential customers are asking. Start there. Answer their questions. That's it. Now you have 25 videos that you can put out there onto your website, onto YouTube, onto any one of these services where you can put the videos out. You've done it. You've answered their questions. And even if they're not looking to have those questions answered, if they go to search for something, you've at least created that content. You've created that information that they may stumble into. Take the questions they're asking. Answer them. That's the easiest way to engage your community. And you can do it in a way that you're not just tweeting or responding in a blog post that no one's going to read anyway. You're actually creating this conversation, a legitimate conversation. An example that I've done in recent weeks, something that was borrowed from Reddit, which is a resource that you can get lost for years on reddit.com. I don't want to dive in too deeply because a fair amount is kind of geeky, very, very much tied into internet culture. So they have something called Ask Me Anything, or AMA. And I did one with Reddit. That was a lot of fun. But I decided to bring it to Facebook and say, all right, AMA, Ask Me Anything. And I tied that into my Facebook page. Also, answered it in my daily vlogs. This is the camera I use for my daily YouTube vlogs. I got the camera, by the way, from go.tagjag.com/hdhat. I've talked about it in my channel, so I don't want to belabor the point. Either way, doesn't matter what camera you use, this is the one I choose to use. So I sewed everything in based on the questions that my community was asking me at that moment. So in many ways, they created the content that I was facilitating. So when you engage or looking at a point through which or for which to start, sorry about that, I kind of went down the wrong way. If this was written, it would be written completely different than the way it's spoken. Hopefully you guys are still with me an hour or so into it. I knew this was going to be a long one. My original presentation, by the way, was 2 hours. Think video, and it's not that much of a challenge. It really isn't. Your PC is the one in your pocket. And this, I challenge you to use for a week without touching a traditional PC or Mac. They're pretty much one and the same. They're personal computers, traditional constructs. Because this is what your customer is using. Just trust me on this. Unless, of course, they have a phone that's not that smart, and that is a portion of the marketplace that is slowly disappearing. My parents are on their phones more than I'm on my phone. This is their computer. There are things that it can't do that a traditional computer can. That being said, this is a go-to. I'll ask you this. What was the first thing you did when you woke up this morning? If it was brush your teeth, you'd be in a minority because most people reach over to their nightstand and grab this. Check their email, Twitter, websites, whatever. This is everything. And if you as a business owner have not already been clued in to this happening now, this is not just a trend that's going to be bucked and we're going to go back to computers. This is our primary communication device, and then some. Mobilize. Now, if you're looking for a way to, let's say, create an app for your business, you could hire a developer, and a good developer is going to cost you a lot, but a bad developer is going to cost you even more, and believe you me, I've run into both. I use a service, again, this is just the one that I went with, called Mobile Roadie. And Mobile Roadie is a service that you can pay for, and you go in and you build the type of app you want on their website, and you could use your desktop computer or laptop computer to build the experience, and they will create for you an application. You can choose to charge for it, you can make it for free, but you decide what goes in that application, including media, like video or audio, web pages, your Twitter account. But the value of me having this application available for free, and I make it for free for my community, people download the Locker Gnome application, and I tell them, hey, I will push information to you on a daily basis. When I create a new video on YouTube, you will get a push notification right there on your smartphone, either iOS or Android. And let me go ahead and clear away some of these notifications so I can kind of show you what's going on here. Sorry, I've got a calendar appointment, but I've got a couple of push notifications in here that are linked off to my YouTube videos, which, works for me. And that's how I'm using it. So I use it much like you would an email newsletter or a tweet or a website. I tell people, hey, you're going to get a push notification. I make the app available for free on iOS, your iPhone or iPad, as well as Android. And in terms of how much I have to pay to get that done, nothing compared to the power of push. Because I know most people have these things on them. And they want stuff from me. They want to know when a new video is being published. I tell them, I'll send you a push. They get the push. I'm happy. In fact, because I set expectations the way I did, we have like an 85% opt-in rate for push notifications on Android and iOS. Because I set expectations. I said, here's what I'm going to do. And they do it. They download it, they use it, they have it, they get pushed. They're happy. I'm happy. We're all happy. It's a huge win. And that's not to say that email newsletters are depreciated. It's just another way of connecting with people. And that Mobile Roadie platform allowed me to do what I needed to do, to create an application, because I'm not a developer. I'm a geek. I love software. I love services. I love hardware. I love talking about this stuff. I'm a communicator, but I just couldn't create it. I had to rely on software as a service, or SaaS, to be able to help me do that. One thing you have to remember, though, is that software is no longer an island. There was a day where you installed software on that computer, you had to install on another computer, you had to install on another computer, and then it just existed on that computer. The data was just there. So old school, man. The future is being able to get to that data in the cloud. Now, you may be concerned, security and putting my data out there. I mean, you can figure that out. Your IT professional can figure that out. The bottom line is, that doesn't concern me anymore. Today, as a matter of fact, my younger brother, one of them, called and they said, hey, you remember that hard drive you got me a few years ago? I said, yeah. He said, well, it crashed. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. He said, what do you use for backing up your data? And I told him, I said, well, I just don't worry about it anymore. My email is in the cloud. It's out there. My videos are in the cloud. My photos are in the cloud. Everything I might need is out there, including documents. I use Google Docs. Huge fan, because it's so easy. You can't beat the cost either. I just think less of these computers as having data on them, and these computers being a way to get to that data. Even my traditional computers, which I have behind me and to the side. In fact, this live video is being dumped directly into a computer. But sometimes, to get yourself over that hump of thinking that software needs to be installed and needs to be done this way, think around this word, collaboration. When I create a document that I know someone else is going to need to edit, the last thing I'm going to do is put it into an attachment in an email. That is the worst thing you could possibly do. In fact, when someone sends me an attachment through email that they mean for me to collaborate on, I want to reach through the computer and slap them upside the head. I'm like, dude, come on. There's software out there. You don't have to install. Services out there. Software as a service that you just tap and collaborate. That's it. And now I can edit a document on a web page, and the other person automatically gets the latest version. It's really that simple. Collaboration, and the idea of this constant collaboration and evolution of software is the norm, or increasingly becoming the norm. The idea of installing software updates is slowly but surely becoming outmoded. The idea of installing software on your computer, like traditional computer in this sense, increasingly outmoded. You're just going to be able to, if you can't yet, get to your data through a web service, a service that you pay for on a monthly basis. Even Microsoft Office is evolving this way. Microsoft has released something called Office 365 at this stage, where you buy into the service for about $100 a year, and you get, I think, 5 licenses or 5 different computers you can use it on. That's the way Microsoft's going, and I'm telling you, if Microsoft's going that route, it's more than just a trend. Buying into software is the future, even all the way to operating systems that you might install. They may come with your system, but it's the idea that the software itself is organic. It's no longer just this piece of whatever that you get that one time, that you buy into that one time. It's the idea that you're going to buy into it. Content's going that direction. Software's going that direction. And collaboration is absolutely crucial to your business anyway. Think about it. What's your bigger challenges in business? Getting your employees to communicate. To get them to communicate, you need to get them to collaborate. Well, if your software, if its ethos doesn't have collaboration at its core, it doesn't really fit in to the idea of communication. You need collaboration for your business to survive. And there's software out there that can do it for you. You may need to create that software. You may need to find it for your specific business, but believe you me, if it's not out there today, it's coming, because that's the future, and it's happening right now. People ask what I do with my receipts. I send them into a service that scans them and organizes them for me. I don't worry about that. I'm not going to mess around with hardware. As a matter of fact, I have an application installed on my phone that lets me scan everything. This is my scanner right here, this application. In fact, there's a receipt I scanned in for a business expense when I traveled out to Pittsburgh to do this particular presentation. I've got a clunky scanner behind me that's giving me problems sometimes. USB port not working. I gotta wait for it to warm up. It's just as easy to do this. Click, boom, done. It's in a PDF. I email, I'm done. This is it. Digitizing is not as much of a challenge as you think it is. There are services out there that allow you to send documentation to someone to sign digitally rather than having them print it out and sign it and fax it back. You can do that with a web service and save not just time, but money and space. Become more efficient. The services are out there to digitize your business model. How much time would I waste on scanning all my stuff in? How much time? What's your time worth? When I went in to, I was having a meeting with some other local business owners, and one of them handed I can give you a physical. Here's an idea. Here's a stack of some recent business cards that I'm going to be sending into my service. Not mine, but the service that I happen to use. go.tagjag.com/shoeboxed if you want that referral. Or if I get the referral from if you do sign up for that. Handed his secretary a stack of cards that tall. He said, here, get the information into a spreadsheet and so we can communicate with them. And I looked and I said, you should be using this other service, because how much is your assistant's time worth? How much time is it going to take them to do what a service can do and save you that much more money? It may cost you $50 a month to get, whatever scanned, or it's going to cost you $500 to do the same thing. So why not make it easier on yourself to digitize? Now, if it stayed analog, do you think I'm going to want to waste my time doing this? Okay, I remember the color of the business card. I remember their name. Their name was something here. I got to find it again. Did I miss it? How much time would I have wasted? Versus going into a search field on an application, typing a keyword or a name, and finding it like that. How much is your time worth? By not adopting the services that are out there today, you're hurting yourself. They are already tried and true. By not digitizing, you are falling woefully behind the curve. If you like taking notes, great. You know what? I love taking notes. I keep stickies here in my drawer. In fact, someone in my community sent me Tetris stickies. I love these. Haven't had a chance to use them yet. I use them all the time. But if it's information that I need to get access to, I'm going to use something called Evernote. Don't know if you've used Evernote before. Fantastic software. You can use it on just about every single device that's out there. You can type in notes. You can leave audio notes. You can take pictures, video, and you can get to it from anywhere. They've got a freemium model where you can use it, the basic set of services, or if you want more, you can pay for it. It's not so difficult to do this. And you know what? It's not that expensive. Or let me put it to you another way. It's more expensive on your time and resources to not do that today. And it's going to become increasingly expensive by not figuring out how to incorporate this into your business. And you don't need to be a tech expert. You don't need to be a geek. In fact, there are probably more non-geeks using these services and the software I've talked about in this particular presentation. You could try it too, because you know what? All it takes is a tap of an icon. That's it. Tap. Try it. See if it works. What have you got to lose? Maybe 5 minutes of your time. But how much time are you wasting by not going this direction? Get yourself over that hurdle. You can do it. I believe it. I believe you can do it. I do. If no one else believes in you, I believe in you. And your business is very important. It's more important to you than it is to me. And that's why I know that technology can absolutely help you over those hurdles that you're having right now. But it starts with you embracing it. You got to do it. Ultimately, you got to walk through there. So I did a traditional slide here with bullet points. If you're looking for ways to brainstorm ideas, either for yourself, your team, coworkers, whatever, I've got a couple of tools to recommend. The umbrella is called Mind Mapping, MindMeister, MindJet. There are a lot of mind mapping tools that are out there. You can take disparate ideas and organize them in a way that you just couldn't organize in bullet points or an outline format. Think about using mind mapping to think through problems, to think through scenarios, to think through options, to think through. If you've not yet used mind mapping software, it is absolutely transformative. The problem is you've probably been stuck with traditional office applications. Word processing, spreadsheet, PowerPoint. I love my dad, but he wants to use his spreadsheet app for everything. It just doesn't work. You can't do it. You can't. You know someone like that, don't you? It's painful. It's painful. Mind mapping is perfect for getting your ideas out there and then figuring out how to organize them in a way that's not so linear. Try it. Might just be fun. Might just help you get over the hurdles you've had. Get those ideas down and organize them and have fun. That's I always want to underscore fun. That's the reason why I love talking about software and services in this world of the web and the internet and connecting with people. It's to have fun. And to be able to unlock experiences that otherwise I wouldn't be able to unlock without software, powerful software. You know how many apps I have installed in my phone? 542 apps. And I'm not going to say the list grows by the day, but I have a lot of apps installed because each one of those apps changes how I use this computer. There was an app just released just the other day called, and I actually configured it on this particular computer, called Status Board. And what Status Board does is it turns your iPad into basically a system that you can beam up onto a TV. I can configure it, put a time here, weather there, upcoming tasks here, various feeds here, inbox there. And this transformed my iPad, this computer, into a status board because the app unlocked that feature. It was just $10 before anybody complains about how much that costs in relation to an app. Need I remind you how much software used to cost? $10 is a drop in the bucket. Or let me put it this way. How much is it worth to you? And if it's worth more than $10, then you need to accept the price that the developer sets forth and pay it. Because if it helps you accomplish something, it's worth twice as much as what they're asking for. Always. If you can make $20 from something that costs you $10, come on. I'm not even a math guy, and I can tell you that's how it works. Unlock value. Don't be afraid. What's it worth to your business? Only you know the answer to that question, but not spending money is not the way to make money. Just saying. When I talk about the idea that you can get to software anywhere, the more you consider that software as something that lives out there, the better off your business is going to be. Because the BYOD phenomenon, or bring your own device, is not disappearing anytime soon. Has a lot of IT firms very frustrated too. But the thing is when your employees walk in, or your customers even walk into your place of business, they don't want to go through your system necessarily. They already have their own system. You got to play with them. It's just like I might have a website and a blog. You might expect people to interact with it, but they're all on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter. So I got to go to them. And I have to decentralize my own thinking and brand to be able to accomplish my goals. It's not the process. It's the goal. Who cares how someone does it as long as they do it? I don't care how someone got to this point in the video, so long as they got to this point in the video. That thrills me to death. Who cares if they came through website X or website Y or someone sent them a link to this? Awesome. Because you know what? My goal is that someone would have watched this far in the video and maybe even complete it and maybe even share it with somebody else and maybe even like it and maybe even comment and maybe even keeping it earmarked so the next time they're thinking, we need some kind of presenter to talk about technology or I really like his style, they're going to come back to me. They're going to think of me as someone who can share a story and get people fired up about this stuff. Because I get fired up about this stuff. Fired up. Sorry. I said which isn't really a word. But I was an English major in college, by the way, so I could make up a word and put it on Urban Dictionary. Anyway, process isn't as important as the goal. And when you decentralize the idea of where your business exists, you're going to be able to evolve at a rate that the industry is already evolving. The industry, whatever your industry is. Technology is going to disrupt it if it hasn't already. Trust me on this. There's not a part of this planet, the entire planet, that has not been transformed or will be transformed about technology or around technology or because of technology. This is going to do it. If it isn't already. When people ask me about security, what should I install? How should I be secure? How should I lock things down? Education. Education, 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 education. Your biggest security risk, your weakest link, isn't software. It's human. Bad guys are becoming increasingly nefarious using social networking and social tactics to get information, to spearfish information, to get to what they want. Faking emails, sending you links by way of IM, having someone click on them, and then, next thing you know, your security is compromised. In fact, there have been studies showing that people just don't care about their passwords. They'll give their passwords out to someone who hands them $50. What do they care? It's not their company. It's not their business. They don't care. Do it for a candy bar. It's not the software. Software is important for security reasons. Passwords are absolutely important when it comes to security. But your weakest link is the human. So don't be so locked up in the idea that everything needs to be so locked down and secure that you can't get anything done. Because believe you me, and I'm not downplaying the value of security. Absolutely. Encryption, workflow and making sure that data is secure is an important part of the process. But do not underplay the value of educating your employees or even yourself on the bad things that might happen. And I have to say this and present it in a technology discussion because a lot of people do get concerned over security. But I'm telling you, all it takes is one person to violate your network. All it takes is one person, and I don't mean someone from the outside, to violate the integrity of your data. It happens. But it can be fixed. It can be solved, or it can be mitigated to a large degree through education. Educate. Bam. Technology is not so scary. These tactics that bad guys and gals are taking are very, very crafty. And the only way to stay one step ahead is to stay one step ahead. And that comes through knowledge and wisdom and understanding the education of somebody, including yourself. You owe it to yourself to educate yourself because your business will absolutely benefit from it. What's it going to hurt? by learning, what's it going to hurt? Are you afraid to learn? Are you afraid that it's just too difficult to understand? I'm telling you, you're making it too difficult to understand. This is not that difficult to understand, because if it was difficult to understand, this would not be the trend today. These pocket computers are not disappearing. They're easy to use. You're using one now. I'm guessing. That's a guess. Total guess. But even the most neophytish business owner out there has an understanding that this is computing today and will be so in the future. So try things. Learn. What's it going to hurt? They can't take it away from you. So that's my presentation as I did it in front of you, this virtual audience. Thanks again for paying attention. I would be surprised if many people at this point were wondering, well, what's going on? Why did I watch this? Hopefully you got something out of it. And if you are someone who understands technology, I do hope that you would share this with someone who isn't quite as familiar with technology. I do speaking engagements all the time, not just this presentation. I have other presentations. I can even build a presentation for your group or audience's needs. Happy to do so. It's a great way of spending my life. I made a career in being myself and sharing my passions with others. Just as animated on the stage as I am in front of this camera, quite familiar with interacting with people and doing the social thing, even though I am a geek. My email address is chris@pirillo.com. I can put that for you in this YouTube's video description. As I said, I hope you did like it. I hope you liked it enough to share it and send it along to someone who might be interested in hearing more from me. I do get hired on a regular basis to help businesses. I have a service that I set up for fellow entrepreneurs for a very small fee, like $97 a year, which is less than my hourly rate at nomies.com. You can feel free to join that, and it's kind of like a near unlimited access to my thoughts by way of a Facebook group. So, I may have something for you if it wasn't in this channel, which you may have subscribed to. If you like how I talked about technology here, this is what I try to do every day in my YouTube channel, talking not just to geeks, my community, but also to people who may not understand about technology. That is my bigger audience. There are a lot more people who don't understand what I know, and it's my job. I feel it's my job to communicate this stuff to normies, to people who don't know what I know. They have a bigger value in what I have to share. So if you consider yourself a non-geek who wants to learn more about this stuff, you will absolutely find yourself at home by subscribing to this YouTube channel. Even if you feel that you're not a geek, you're going to learn something new. Yes, I'm going to address the geeks because that's kind of what I am, but I do my best to also address that greater audience, because geeks are about this much of a sliver of a mouse fart of the greater universe of people out there who need my help, the help that I'm so happy to give you. So drop me a line if you want. Feel free to share this if you want. I hope you appreciated everything that I was able to give you today. Thanks again.